Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel for 6 things that we learned from Burnley 0, Chelsea 4. After what is a tumultuous week for Chelsea Football Club, we get an emphatic second half from Chelsea today. Thomas Tuchel's men, Reece James back in the team. Absolutely no surprise in the world when the best right back on the planet comes back into the system that we all know so much about the system, and all of a sudden, the cogs start turning again. Everything seems to fit into place. Before we get into it though, if we can hit 5,000 likes on this 6 Things We Learned video, it's my match review series, and please subscribe to the George Benson Football Channel if you haven't already done so. It's been a good week for Chelsea on the field. It has been such a crazy week to follow the club off the field. And when you watch that first half display, it was shoddy, to say the least. We're going to talk about the game as a whole and progress into more detail as we talk about individual players. But the first half got me very concerned. Burnley have been in good form recently. They're still down near the bottom of the table. I think they're 3 places off from the bottom. They've been turning it round slowly. It looked as though they were dead and buried. And we know that with Sean Dyche and Burnley, once they start to get into that rhythm of disrupting teams whenever they come to Turf Moor like Chelsea did today, they did everything right in that first half, and Chelsea didn't look as though we were at the races. And it is very easy when Chelsea looks so pedestrian, slow, mundane, we look bored out there in the first half, which is confusing for me because we've still got so much to play for. Whether Roman Abramovich isn't going to be the owner anymore, whoever that new owner's going to be, we got to make sure that whatever the chaos is off the field right now at Chelsea, the players that are out there are fighting for their places. They're fighting for the understanding of where they sit in this transitional period at Chelsea. And I was confused in that first half because it didn't look as though anybody wanted to be out there. You know, Burnley in early March, it's not going to be the most beautiful day for a game of football. It never is. But still, somehow, we go in at half-time, Thomas Tuchel has a team talk, and I put it on Twitter saying he's got to remind Kai Havertz that this is a cup final. You know, we're playing in the Premier League Cup final at Turf Moor. And then what does Kai Havertz come and do? He doesn't give the ball away. He puts it in the back of the net, which is what he has done now 4 times in his last 5 games. Kai Havertz is on fire. Chelsea are on fire. But the one man above everybody else, and it's box number 1, it's a blue, for Reece James. Reece James, the goal that he scored, let's talk about the goal and then we'll talk about why Reece James is so important to this Chelsea team. The goal, he's there, putting his foot on it, moving it to his left foot, moving it to his right. I get this flashback, deja vu, at St James's Park when he did the same thing against Newcastle. He scored 2 that day. And today he's back in the team, starting in the Premier League for the first time in 2022. And within the first 8 minutes of that second half, he gets himself a goal, gets himself an assist. And in some kind of alternative realm and alternative universe, he could have had a hat-trick today. There was a time where Pulisic, and we're going to talk about him later, could have given it to Reece James, and you just expect him to leather it and he's probably going to score. And then in the first half, it was a phenomenal defensive block to deny Reece James a goal as well. Could have had a hat-trick, but we're not going to sit here and woulda, shoulda, coulda. Means we'll be out of time, like the lyrics of the song. Reece James gets himself a goal, gets a wonderful assist as well for Kai Havertz' second. And as soon as he's back in the team, that right side doesn't fill me with any worries. Over the course of the past couple of months, when Chilwell's been injured, Reece has been injured, we have almost lost all of that immediate early season form that saw Chelsea dominate the Premier League. It saw us be considered as one of the title favourites. And today, no disrespect to Saul Niguez, but left wing back is not his number 1 position. And it was pretty evident, even in the slow-paced first half from Chelsea, we were trying to send everything we could down that right-hand side because Reece James is a special bloody player. I said it right when this channel was born. when we had that first influx of Mason Mounts, Reece Jameses, Tammy Abrahams coming through under Frank Lampard, I said that Reece James is the one to keep the closest eye on, because as much as we've already had all of our words proven correct by becoming champions of Europe, Reece James just seems to have this oozing of class that even when he's not playing so well, even as a right back or a right wing back, he's still going to come up and score and be involved in creating other chances for his teammates. Reece James today, back in the starting 11, back in the wonderful goals, and back on the influence to Chelsea going forward, making us tick. We move into box number 2, and at the first half, at half time, I'm sat here and I've got the old bloody classic GBFC notebook out, and I'm sitting thinking, if this does finish 0-0, do you guys even want to watch a video talking about this? But there would have been a green box in the first half, and it would have gone to Thiago Silva. And I want to talk about why it is commonplace that we see Chelsea doing this, and how it is still so important that Thiago Silva is there. Because in that first half, we were pretty awful. And Burnley, if they could finish, would have been ahead, which would have changed the entire complexity of Chelsea's second half, and even Burnley's second half too. But Thiago Silva, the clearance off the line, I think he's cleared the ball off the line more than any other Chelsea player this season in the Premier League. There is a statistic about that. But it's not only the clearance off the line, it is being in the right place at the right time. And when Chelsea are looking as though we're struggling to put things together going forward, the reason why we can afford to do that is because we've got Thiago Silva there saving our bacon when we're not at the races in the early stages of games. We've seen it so many times, and how many times has Thiago Silva saved us? He did it again today. It was a brilliant performance from him. A couple of moments where you think, oh no, he's down again, he looks like he's injured. But he survived. Away at Burnley, not an easy place to go. But Thiago Silva comes out supposedly unscathed. We move into Kai Havertz, box number 3. First half, again, I thought he was atrocious. Couldn't keep hold of the ball, kept losing it. Burnley, they were super tight on him. They kept putting him under pressure. And it seemed as though he looked a bit, I'm looking for a good word here, but I'm going to use the word flimsy. You know, like when you get those rulers in school where you can smack it on your arm and it will like grip onto your arm, but it's not really like a straight ruler. Do you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't solid in that first. I don't know how I've managed to get away with saying this, but I'm not going to cut it out of the video because this is the immediate match review. 2 goals in the second half for Kai Havertz, and then he starts to play with confidence again. He starts to back into defenders. What we expect Lukaku to do, but there's no Lukaku on the field today because Havertz has been in good form. Lukaku's been out of form, let's say with performance-wise at least, in the Premier League. And Kai Havertz vindicates the decision from Thomas Tuchel to put him in that starting 11. Gets himself 2 goals, the first of which, Christian Pulisic, who is box number 4, by the way, Pulisic puts in a sensational cross. And Kai Havertz is just holding his run. He knows it's coming to him. The quality's there. Pulisic's delivery, Havertz with the header. The second one, it's all about Reece James and the ball in again. Poor defending from Burnley, but Kai Havertz is there. And he kind of bundles it over the line. But it's 2 goals. I actually put him into my fantasy Premier League team this weekend. I took Mount out the team and put Havertz in. Mason Mount, don't think had his best game. But when Chelsea are ticking, we've got so many different players who can turn up, make the difference. And today, Kai Havertz made the difference. And Christian Pulisic had, yet again, another very good game against Burnley. Christian Pulisic is a green for box number 4. He gets probably the easiest goal that he's ever going to score in his career. When by this point, the Burnley heads have dropped. Chelsea are 3-0 up. Burnley is shell-shocked. And then all of a sudden, there's just a gift waiting for Christian Pulisic. And he puts it in the back of the net to score Chelsea's 4th, which, by the way, I actually spent the whole evening, the whole afternoon today talking to the boys saying, I think we're going to win 4-0. And I know that you probably won't believe that because there wasn't a preview before the game, but when the 4th one went in, I thought we might have gone on and scored 5 or 6. And I think Pulisic looked the most likely because every time he got the ball today, he drove forward. And it isn't just today. He always seems to do this, but he's playing now once again, now that he's fit, now that COVID seems to have disappeared from the world, by the way, but now that there isn't Christian Pulisic catching COVID, we can see that when he gets given a run of games, he builds this personal momentum where he kind of remembers that he's a bloody great, talented footballer, and he starts to try and dribble past people, wriggle around people. And he did it magnificently today for Chelsea. But the best moment was the cross for Kai Havertz. It is a wonderful ball, cutting back on his left foot, too tricky for the Burnley defence. Pulisic puts it on a plate, and that was the moment where we knew Chelsea were about to go on a rampage. We were rampant in that second half. Pulisic was brilliant. Havertz was brilliant. We move into box number 5, and it's kind of like a combination of all of the things. But I want to talk about the system, because in a funny kind of way, when Ruben Loftus-Cheek comes on and we stick him in right wing back, I'm sat there thinking like, surely we could just stick Trev at right back, Saul at left back, and just go with 4 and then stick Ruben in the middle somewhere or on the wing. But no, Thomas Tuchel wants to play a very certain way. And with Reece James now back in the team, if only we could have had Ben Chilwell back in the team too, because when those guys are there, you see just how important the wing backs are to why Chelsea have been so successful playing in this system. But the system works. We win so many matches, even if we're not playing well, when we have got players playing in these positions that Thomas Tuchel knows is the best way to operate this side. And as much as I can sit here and joke that when Ruben came on, it would have been nice to see him a bit further up the field so that we could have gone and scored 5 or 6. But I think it's testament to Tuchel that even though injuries have kind of ruined our season in a sense, we've got Reece James back now, which is 50% of what made that system so consistent and so good in the first place. And if there are players, and again, that's heaven forbid it doesn't happen, but if Reece James does get injured again, we need, if Azpilicueta's not available, we need to know that Ruben can see out a game for 20 minutes playing in right wing back. I know it sounds hypothetical and highly unlikely, but I think that Thomas Tuchel's persistence with this system, when you see us play the way we did in that second half, and when you see the clear difference between Reece James coming in, playing in that role, and just how much better we are, you just got to take the imaginary hat off to Thomas Tuchel and say, you know exactly what you're doing. Box number 6, I couldn't really pinpoint any other individual performances. I just want to say, if we could sort out these first halves where we don't look like we want to be there, then we could be sticking double figures worth of goals on these thumbnails. We could be talking about 6-0, 7, 8-0 like we used to under Ancelotti. I don't know why it takes us a half-time team talk to go out there and absolutely obliterate and blow some certain teams away like we did today. But if we could get like even 70 minutes of this, we're talking 6-0, we're talking 7s. And I know that we can do it, and I'm sure that we will. But the first half was incredibly disappointing. So I've given it a yellow, but who's going to complain about that? It's a 4-0 win away at Burnley. This has been a great 6 Things We Learned video. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button, subscribe to GBFC if you are new, and I'll catch you tomorrow because I think we've got to talk about the developments with who is going to be owning our club, because it is moving quickly. We'll see. See you tomorrow. Come on, you Blues.